Previously, I went into the efficiency of walking. I don't recommend watching it because it was a bad video, so I thought I might as well do some other forms of transportation, and that led me to decide on doing cycling. Cycling is like the next evolution of walking, and yes, I do mean that to all you roller skaters, skateboards, and scooter fans. You can't beat the upping of the total efficiency on any flat surface by the superb usage of wheels and gear ratios. So in this video, I'm going to talk about everything I can in terms of cycling, such as the history of cycling, how do cycles work, how efficient are cycles, and how to make the most of cycling. What is a cycle? Well, a cycle can include a unicycle, bicycles, tricycles, and quadricycles. These are all considered cycles. If we look at each one of these, the most common correlation between all of these is the use of pedals, the main purpose of carrying a rider, and the use of wheels. Then why did the first cycle appear? Well, using the definition above, the first cycle was actually a wheelchair. I know that sounds dumb, but bear with me for a second. In the 17th century, a watchmaker named Stefan Farfiller set out to make a wheelchair that the person in the wheelchair could move themselves. They used hand-powered cranks to move the front wheels. I can already hear people saying, that doesn't even count as a type of cycle. No person using a modern definition can come to this conclusion. The reason I chose this as the origin point of modern cycles is compared to the more commonly cited name of Carl von Draese's with his invention of the dandy horse, is that Carl von Draese's invention is more comparable to the modern day skateboard or scooter, because if you lower the height of the dandy horse, it is more similar to a skateboard in function, but if you alter the size of the shape of Stefan Farfiller's invention, you still have the use of cranks or pedals as the same form of locomotion, which is more comparable to a bicycle compared to Carl's invention of the dandy horse. After the creation of the first cycle, many different designs popped up all over the place, mainly using the overall shape of the dandy horse, but using the crank/pedal design that Stefan Farfiller's invention had. With bicycles becoming a part of the Olympic Games in 1896, the newly popularized form of transportation started appearing in cities all over the globe in 1920. You can see over time improvements in the bicycle design, with improvements in gear ratios amplifying the amount of force transferred to the wheels, improving in the weight of the bike frame, allowing it to move farther with less energy, and improvements in wheel traction and better seat and handle design to allow more comfy rides for the rider. Some of you may be asking, how exactly does cycling turn walking, which is slow, into something as fast as a bicycle? Well, it's quite simple. They use gear ratios to multiply the less efficient input force to a more efficient output. For example, let's use the math. If we have a single rotation being applied to a 1-to-1 gear ratio, it should produce a single rotation of output. In order to improve the output without increasing the input, you alter the gear ratio. Let's use the previous numbers, except we change the gear ratio to 1-to-2. This produces 2 rotations of output for a single rotation input. There are downsides to increasing and decreasing the gear ratios. It will negatively affect speed or torque, depending on what ratios you use. Hello everyone, this is a side note. When I was reading this, a thought popped into my head. Do pedals use like leverage to increase the amount of energy inputted into the gear ratios? For example, like what if we increase the length of the pedal from the gear ratio? Like if you extend that connecting part, does it increase the input? I'm not that sure. I tried Googling, but I'm too done to understand it, so I have no idea. This is future me. Goodbye. You could also increase the traction in the wheels, lowering the amount of energy lost during active cycling. Bikes can also be supplemented via motors. In recent years, we haven't seen an increase in the number of electric bike sales. These e-bikes allow for even better distances and speeds, supplementing human pedaling, allowing for the rider to expend less energy overall. Well, the average speed of a bike depends on the bike itself and the terrain, so we will use the speed determined by the Google Maps direction tool. Their number is 100% a lowball because this estimate is made for everyone from your grandma to your overweight coworker. So according to Google Maps, the average cyclist without any breaks or stops goes around 16 kilometers per hour. And if we compare that to what other websites like pedalstreet.com using data tracked by cycling apps, which claim that the average cyclist is around 26.7 kilometers per hour. This makes sense when comparing the data, because the Pedal Street website uses cycling apps, which have the tendency to track active physical cyclists without accounting for terrain or bike. So the 16 kilometer per hour figure makes sense. If we compare cycling to walking, one of these is objectively better than the other in two different categories: speed and energy cost. So let's compare the numbers between the two. Speed, the average bike can go around 16 kilometers per hour versus walking, which is around 4 kilometers per hour. Energy cost of cycling is slightly better, with cycling allowing for coasting depending on the terrain. So cycling and walking are quite similar in terms of niche, with bikes being best used for short distance travel in highly dense populations that have the necessary infrastructure. Let's get into the details of what that infrastructure entails. First, you need to separate the cycling from other forms of transportation, because cycling, you go relatively fast and crashing is quite dangerous. So having a biking lane separate from sidewalk and roads with the appropriate barriers in between them, like having poles to signify the separation of sidewalk and bike path, or having trees and vegetation between the roads and the cyclist. Cycling also has the added benefit of not requiring huge areas for storage, which in the case of cars, a simple bike rack is easily better in terms of spatial usage when compared to parking spaces. Okay, I thought of this when writing this script. What if I rate each form of transportation in different categories? I'll give each category a score between 1 and 10, with 10 being the best. But first, I'll break down these categories. First, we got starting cost, which is the cost to start getting into the form of transportation. Second, we have distance, which is the furthest possible distance without stopping. Third, we got speed, which states the overall speed. Fourth, we have storage. This is how much space and equipment is required to store the vehicle. Fifth, we have carry weight, how much the vehicle can carry. And lastly, we have maintenance / operating costs, which is sort of self-explanatory. So here are the ratings. SC8, with the bicycle being a mainly personal vehicle, meaning that it's privately used vehicle, the cost purchase is mainly between 100 to 300 USD, which in transportation terms is pretty cheap. D4, with distance being determined by how much a person can pedal, it is comparably worse to all electric and gas-powered vehicles, but in terms of human-powered transportation, it's the best. S4, same as the D ranking. ST9, the bicycle is quite compact compared to its all-over performance, so that boosts its rating up to a 9. C3, it can carry a bit extra weight without any assistance, but it is not ideal if you don't have any specialized bikes for it. M8, with maintenance, as long as you keep the bike out of harsh weather conditions, the bike needs little to no maintenance. So where does assisted bikes come up in the list? I'm not going to go into detail in each category again, because assisted bikes just produce a overall performance increase through speed, distance, and carry weight, such as that, so I'll just give you the numbers. For SC7, D5, S6, ST9, C5, MS6. So there isn't really a good conclusion for this, because there isn't really much to talk about. It's just cycling. It's not like it's ruining the environment or we went to war over bicycles. So all I can say is it's a general improvement over walking, and they're pretty neat. They're also great forms of transportation over cars. And I'll do cars next time. So this is goodbye. Next month is probably going to be cars. I'll probably also do a Halloween thing for next month. Goodbye. Alright, so this is post-editing me. So basically this is going to be like the last time, my thoughts and all that on this project. This time I organized my files properly, so now you can actually see some forms of editing. So like there'll be like words and texts and images and all that. And at the very end, you can see the space background. I didn't like it. I said I was going to use it as an intro to the live stream, but then I rethought about it and thought that's pretty dumb. So I'm just going to, for live streams, I'm just going to start out and wing it from there. So I'm just going to use this as the outro image. Besides that, I'll try to do some more animations in my next project. I'll try, but I'll probably forget because they're kind of difficult. Because most of the video you're just watching the billboard with nothing going on in the background besides the transitions of images and stuff. I'll try to fix that. And besides that, good stuff. See you around. Adios. Bye.